Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Korean street toast. That's right, they say never judge a book by its cover or a recipe by its name. For example, spotted dick can be very delicious. So when I hear the name of a new food I'm not familiar with, I try not to judge. But when I heard from a viewer there was something called Korean street toast, I judged it immediately, since I knew I would love it, and I did. And so will you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by julienning some carrot. And for that, we will cut off like a 2 or 3 inch piece from the thicker end. And then we'll cut one slice off the side here so it lays nice and flat. And then taking our time, we'll make some nice thin slices. Right, the thinner the better. And of course, as we do this, our fingertips are bent back out of the way. And then what we'll do once we have a few slices cut like this is simply stack them up. And then slowly and carefully, we'll go ahead and cut these into really, really thin strips. And yes, in case you're wondering, you can grate this, or use that vegetable cutter you ordered at 2 in the morning after watching the infomercial. But if you have a sharp knife, this is a fast, fun, and easy way to do it. And I think the texture of the sandwich does come out better if it's not grated and cut like this instead. And for each sandwich we make, we're going to need about a half a handful of that, plus a full handful of julienne cabbage, which we're basically going to cut the same way, which you'll see me doing here with a 1/4 head of green cabbage. And with the cabbage, it's even easier because we don't need to slice it first, right? Since we already have all those thin layers of leaves stacked up. So with this, we have to simply slice across as shown, again making nice thin cuts, until, like I said, we have about 1 handful, which we will go ahead and add to our julienne carrot. And then last but not least, I'm also going to add a little bit of freshly sliced green onion, at which point we'll go ahead and season this up with some freshly ground black pepper, a few shakes of cayenne, or maybe even a pinch of Korean chili flakes. And then we'll also do 2 big pinches of salt. All right, one is for the vegetables, and then one is for the eggs we're just about to toss in here. But not before we give this a little bit of a mix and mash with our hand. And what that's going to do is turn these vegetables from something crisp and unruly to something much more soft and compliant. So we'll go ahead and work that over with our hand for about 30 seconds or so. And then once that's soft and seasoned, we can go ahead and add 2 eggs. And then we'll take a fork and give this a very thorough mixing. And that's it. We can go ahead and set that aside. And we can move on to start building this amazing sandwich. And the first step for that would be to melt about 2 tablespoons of butter over medium-high heat. And hopefully a nice large nonstick skillet. At which point we will toss in 2 slices of the thickest, whitest bread we can find. Alright, do not mess this sandwich up by trying to use bread that has any kind of nutritional value. And what we'll do is toss that around to make sure both sides are well buttered. Although a spatula would probably be a little less painful to use. And then what we'll do is simply grill this bread over medium to medium-high heat until both sides are beautifully toasted and golden brown. And hopefully starting to get a little bit crispy. And yes, I do flip my bread a lot. It's fun to flip. And there's going to be less chance of me burning it because I'm playing with it so much. And then what we'll do once we think that's been grilled long enough is remove that to a plate. And then in the same pan we'll go ahead and melt another chunk of butter. And then as soon as that melts, we'll go ahead and transfer in our egg and vegetable mixture. And then using the edge of our spatula, we'll kind of sort of chop down on the surface like this, while at the same time pushing those edges up and over the top, as we sort of simultaneously cook and mix this at the same time. And yes, of course, if you want to use less vegetables and just 1 egg, you can make a smaller version of the same sandwich. All right, that's up to you. I mean, you are, after all, the Glenn Close of your Korean street toast. But speaking of fatal attractions, this is so addictive to eat, I highly recommend you do the 2-egg full-size version. Because if you don't, you're going to want more. And as this goes from something that's very soft and liquidy to something a little firmer that holds its shape, what we'll do is attempt to form this into a rectangle, about twice as long as it is wide. And the reason we're going to do that is so that we're able to split this in half, which is not only going to make this easier to flip, since we'll just be doing half at a time, but eventually we will stack these 2 pieces so that they fit on our sandwich. But anyway, we'll go ahead and cut that and flip it as shown. And then we'll cook both sides until they're golden brown. And believe it or not, even though this is only going to cook for like 3 or 4 minutes, because we cut those vegetables nice and thin, they're going to be cooked through and nice and sweet and tender. And that's it. Once we think that's cooked long enough, we'll go ahead and stack those up and place that on our beautifully grilled toast. Which brings us to the most bizarre and unusual step in this whole operation. And that would be, believe it or not, topping this with some white sugar, which for me means only like half a teaspoon. But apparently from what I've seen on the street in Korea, they put what looks more like a tablespoon. And I know it seems kind of crazy, but it totally works. And that little extra bit of sweetness really pairs perfectly with that bittersweet flavor profile of the vegetables. So you don't have to put a lot, but I think you do have to put on a little bit. And then what we'll do to finish this off is toss 2 thin pieces of smoked ham into our still hot skillet. Then once that starts to sizzle, we'll go ahead and flip it over. And then top that with a nice slice of American cheese, or in my case, mild cheddar. And then as soon as that cheese melts, which shouldn't take too long, we'll go ahead and place that over the top. At which point we're almost, but not quite done. Since to really finish this properly, we have to squeeze over a generous amount of mayonnaise and ketchup. And I didn't say swipe or spread, and I certainly didn't say dollop. All right, this must be applied from some kind of squeeze bottle. So yes, I did have to buy those especially for this video, which is fine, I have an expense account. But anyway, do what you have to do. But I assume there's a reason that we're squeezing, if for no other purpose than it just looks cooler. And that's it, we'll go ahead and place over that top piece of toast. And then we'll go ahead and cut this in half. And then we'll go ahead and show you one of the most beautiful and gorgeous cross-sections in sandwich history. I mean, come on, look at that. It's just absolutely stunning. And that, my friends, as hard as it is to believe, actually tastes better than it looks. Just a truly amazing combination of tastes and textures, with that crispy grilled buttery bread, and that slightly sweet, super savory vegetable egg patty. And then bringing things home, we have that smoky ham and melty cheese, and ridiculous amount of mayo and ketchup. And all those things together make for one of the most memorable hot sandwich experiences of your life. Plus, we just ate a whole serving of vegetables and barely noticed. So I just love absolutely everything about this. And again, regarding that sprinkling of sugar, all right, the first time I did this, I almost left that out because it just seemed ridiculous. But I am so glad I didn't, since now that I've been enjoying these on a regular basis, I realize how important that is. But anyway, that's it. My take on Korean street toast, or as I mispronounce it, Gilgari toast. The next time you're in the mood for a breakfast sandwich that will absolutely ruin you for any other kind of breakfast sandwich, this is the one you're going to want to make. Which is why I'm going to finish up by saying, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.